What's this? A letter for me.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of Remember the Great Sports Through the Mail Thursdays. Today I'm going to open 3 envelopes and we're going to see exactly who we got back. I think they're going to be baseball returns, but I'm not positive on that. Alright, the first one is, indeed, from former Texas Ranger and Golden Spikes Award winner in college, Mike Loynd, on 1, 2, 3, and 4. Mike Loynd. This is probably somebody outside of the Texas Rangers organization. If you're not a fan of the Rangers, you may not even be aware of. Mike Loynd, despite being a highly touted prospect in college, was one of the very few guys that made his major league debut in the same season that he was drafted. And the amazing thing is this guy wasn't a first-round pick. He wasn't a second-round pick. He was a 7th-round pick and was drafted in June, and 2 months later was in the major leagues. That's unheard of. How many 7th-round picks make the jump from college to the majors that fast? Well, what happened? Why did he, make that jump so quickly? That's the question. Well, Loynd was a so-so pitcher when he first started out at Florida State University. However, in 1986, Florida State University made its run for the College World Series. Mike Loynd won 20 games in that season for the Florida State Seminoles. 20. That is an amazing feat. That tied, major league. That tied a college baseball record at 20 wins in one single season. That garnered him the top college baseball player award and the Golden Spikes Award in '86. Well, despite all these accolades, Mike slipped all the way down to the 7th round to get drafted. The Rangers didn't see any reason not to draft him in the 7th round and pulled the trigger. Well, from there, his life just turned into a whirlwind. After spending a couple months in the minors, he got his call up at age 22 years old to the major leagues. In front of 34,000 fans, he faced Phil Niekro, the old knuckleballer himself, and defeated him 6-3. So here's a kid at 22 years old, was pitching in the College World Series in June, gets drafted, and 2 months later, here he is facing a future Hall of Famer in Phil Niekro and beats him. That's amazing. That's like saying you faced Nolan Ryan in your first game and you defeated Nolan Ryan. I mean, that's just amazing. Well, he finished the year out with the Rangers that year, and there were high expectations, coming into the next season in 1987 for Mike. Well, unfortunately, things didn't work out so well for Mike, and the record wasn't so positive. In 1987, he went 1-5 in multiple starts. Well, after the 87 season, I don't know if there was some, issues or, what really went on. But before the 1988 season started, the Texas Rangers chose to trade him to the Houston Astros. So here he was at 24 years old, already being traded from the team that drafted him. Well, unfortunately, Mike never did play another game in the major leagues. He spent time in the minor leagues playing, for various minor league teams throughout his career, until finally, in 1994, he retired from baseball. He played in the minors for the Astros, the Blue Jays, the Cardinals, and the Braves. And he finished his career also in the Expo system, playing in a single A affiliate. A single A affiliate was his final season. Obviously, he battled through some injuries and had some issues. But he went the complete opposite direction of what a Major League Baseball player is supposed to do. At 22 years old, he was in the majors facing a Hall of Famer, and it went south from there. It's usually the other way around. You're 22-year-olds in the minors, and you retire as a major leaguer, not as a minor leaguer in high A. So, I'm not trying to say anything negative about Mr. Loynd's career. I mean, it's amazing what he did in college baseball. To win 20 games is an unheard of feat. I mean, I am very happy to have his autograph in my collection as one of the greatest college baseball players ever to play. Unfortunately, it didn't translate in the major leagues like it did in college. So, thank you very much, Mr. Loynd. I hope some of the viewers have learned about Mr. Loynd, because he is definitely somebody in the history of college baseball that you might want to consider adding to your autograph collection. All right, so this next one is postmarked from Rhode Island, and it is indeed another big-time college player, and that is Bill Allman on 1, 2, 3, and 4. And Mr. Allman, if many of you don't know, was the number 1 overall pick in the draft one season. He was drafted by the San Diego Padres, and he chose not to sign with them. The Padres were so insistent on wanting to have him that they drafted him with their number 1 overall choice in 1974. They originally drafted him in the 11th round in 71, but Almon chose to go to college at Brown University instead. The Padres liked him so much, they used the number 1 overall pick to sign him. Now, this is again one of those obscure guys that you probably don't know. Bill Allman, despite being the number 1 pick, had a respectable 15-year career in the major leagues. I mean, the guy did play 15 years in the majors. However, he was a middle infielder, a shortstop, that didn't hit for a lot of power. You know, this is in the era of, shortstops getting bigger and stronger, especially, around 1981, 82, you had this Cal Ripken guy show up. And Allman never really established himself as a star in the major leagues. He was always a utility guy. He wasn't the go-to guy. I mean, the Padres went as far as drafting Ozzie Smith to play shortstop because they weren't happy with Billy Allman. So, Billy Allman was a great college player, no doubt about it, just like Mike Loynd was. However, a 15-year career, it's kind of, I don't want to say tarnished, that's a hard word to put. I mean, a 15-year major leaguer, I would trade that for anything. I wouldn't care if I sat on the bench for 15 years. That's 15 years better working in a factory or a coal mine. But as the number 1 overall pick, when you're thinking of number 1 overall picks, you don't think of Bill Allman. That's for sure. And, he was a great college player. He was, kind of the backup utility guy for many years on many teams, the A's, the Pirates, and the Padres. And, I thank him very much for signing these. And he is one of the greats of the game. It's just, as a number 1 overall pick, he wasn't a big-time person like Ken Griffey Jr. or Bryce Harper or somebody like that. So, thank you very much, Mr. Allman. All right, this final one is from former Texas Ranger, New York Yankee, and Boston Red Sox on 5 of 5. And I also have the rookie card there. Mr. Mike Stanley. Mike Stanley, I just, if I would have got this back and known this, I could have did an all-catcher video with Chris Hoyles and the other autographs that I got of catchers, Greg Olson. But Mike Stanley, same era as those other two guys I just mentioned. He was drafted in the 16th round of the 85 draft, so not a high round pick. Despite that, the guy played 15 years in the majors. So there goes to prove that guys can come in the later rounds of the draft and still have very good major league careers. Well, he was indeed teammates with none other than Mike Loynd. These two were Texas Rangers at the same time. However, Stanley was kind of working his way up the system, and he was more of kind of like a backup catcher, other than the primary catcher when they had Darryl Porter, Gino Petrelli comes to mind. He was kind of the backup catcher to those guys. The Texas Rangers never really made him a starter, although he did catch 103 games in 1990 for them. And after spending how many seasons with them? Hang on 1 second. 6 years with the Rangers. He then was granted free agency, and he signed with the New York Yankees. Well, the Yankees gave him the opportunity, and he seized it, and slowly but surely, he worked his way into becoming a Yankee starting catcher. And finally, by the age of 29, 30 years old, he had a breakout season where he batted .305, 26 home runs, while catching almost full-time for the Yankees. He would follow up the 94 and 95 season with similar numbers, making his first All-Star game at 32 years old. Well, after the 95 season, the Yankees decided they no longer needed his services, and they traded him to the Red Sox. So the Yankees made the trade to the Red Sox, and for Jim Messier. That doesn't seem like a fair trade. But, and Tony Armas. I'm going to assume that's Tony Armas Jr. Tony Armas Sr. couldn't have been playing by then. But, so he was traded to from the Yankees to the Red Sox. He spent one season with Boston, then went back to the Yankees for a season, then went to the Blue Jays. Then the Blue Jays traded him back to the Boston Red Sox. So in total, he spent 5 years with the Red Sox, but he kind of bounced around between different teams and never played all 5 seasons full with the Red Sox. He was with the Yankees again. He was with the Blue Jays again during that 5-year span. Well, in the year 2000, finally the Red Sox decided to grant him free agency again, and they released him. And he signed a 1-year deal with the Oakland A's. And after that season, at 37 years old, he decided to retire from the game. So, very good overall numbers for Mr. Stanley throughout his career. Very good player. Thank you, Mr. Stanley, for signing. Thank you again, Mr. Allman, for signing. And thank you, Mr. Loynd. I'm going to try to maybe look at getting some of these other guys on the Allman card to sign. And I might send to Jerry Brown again to get that Mike Stanley signed. But thank you all for signing for me. I hope you learned a little bit about these guys from this era. There's tons of cards on these guys out there. So hopefully you guys also enjoyed this, and I look forward to your comments below.